guys, so I'm down here in my little writing cave that I don't write in enough. I'm trying to do this without my glasses to avoid some of the glare I've seen in some of my videos. I'm still pretty new at this video stuff, but I'm going to jump right in it. This video is for, let's just say 10 of the top things that, not necessarily in any order, that I either heard repeated or I learned or that I've gathered from my time at the Austin Film Festival 2025. First, the bad news. You need to have talent. You need to be able to write. And apparently 80% of us just aren't going to be able to do it. There's just not enough opportunities. You got to be the best. You got to be undeniable. You got to write something great, and not just one thing, but you got to be great. And everyone's going to ask, well, how do you make something undeniable? And there's ways to do it, but the one I've gathered to try to be, give some actionable advice is through character. Write great characters. If you write great characters and put them in interesting situations, you almost can't help but to have something interesting happen. And I think that's the key. Be interesting and let your characters be great. The number two thing that I heard repeated is that there are no rules. You're going to hear back and forth as early as the dawn of time, and it won't stop with this video. But every single writer, manager, agent, producer that presented, or at least that I saw at the Austin Film Festival, said there are no rules. As far as format, there's a format, but as far as rules, the we sees, the don't direct on the page, do it. Do it if you need to. And here's when to do it, based on what they've said in their presentations. You want to be clear. If giving a we see makes it clearer of what the reader is supposed to see, use it. If you've got to tiptoe around we see by writing another whole sentence or two sentences, then it defeats the point. Just say we see. We know that what's on the page is what we're seeing, but sometimes we, the reader, the viewer, sees something that the characters don't see. So I can't say Bob doesn't see the creature behind him. Why don't we just say we see the creature lurking behind him? I don't know, bad example maybe, but so you want to be clear. If it'll help with clarity, do it. Economical on the page, I just touched on that as well. Interesting. If it's interesting, economical, clear, and then it has that X factor touched on in the first point, be great. Other than that, there's no rules. The third thing that I heard repeated is be aware of existing IP, biopics, stuff like that. But you don't have to necessarily let it stop you. The gentleman that wrote Air, the Nike Michael Jordan shoe story, he was there and he wrote 3 or 4 essentially true life stories. 2 or 3 of them, they couldn't get the rights. It was DOA, but they were good writing examples. Air, he was able to do it by focusing mostly on a smaller character. It's not the life story of Michael Jordan. It's the story of this gentleman at Nike. And through that way, he was able to get, support from Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. And through there, then they were able to get the rights to use, the Michael Jordan and Nike likenesses. But none of that matters if the story isn't great. It still needs to be great. It needs to have a great, hook to it. And also, like I said, so don't let it stop you, because that was how he made his big break. But be aware that there is a huge chance that you're going to write it essentially for nothing, and that nothing's going to ever happen with it, other than maybe being a writing example. The fourth thing that I've heard repeated from multiple people is that spec features, especially in this case, are the one thing the writer can control essentially from the beginning. If you're paid to do a writing job or a touch up on a script, that's great. But you're reliant mostly on notes. You don't have a lot of wiggle room. You don't want to make the, you don't want to do the notes. They'll replace you, and understandably so. But a spec is your currency. It's your value to everyone else, and it's the one thing you can control. You should always be writing a spec, essentially, because at any time it's a gig economy. You're paid as per job, essentially. So your spec is the one thing you can control. And think about that. Like, what do I want to dedicate the next few months or whatever to, and what's going to be a great representation of who I want to be as a writer, and that I want to show to them. Because again, pigeonholed kind of isn't a thing, but it can be if you get a reputation for doing a certain thing. And that's another thing that came up, is a great spec, great, not decent, not good, a great spec keeps you from being pigeonholed. If you write a romance and it's great and everybody loves it, and they say, well, we want you to write another romance, and you say, well, no, I want to do this sci-fi, they're going to probably say, no, we don't want that from you. We want the romance, because that's the thing you've shown that you can do. But if then you show them an amazing spec script, they're not going to say, I could probably make millions of dollars off of this, but you're the romance guy, so we're not going to do it. No, that's not going to happen. Your spec is what you can control, but also you can think about it, strategically. If you want to write sci-fi, write some amazing sci-fi scripts, some specs. You don't want to be pigeonholed? Fine. Then write great specs in different genres. Another thing that was brought up many times, pretty much by every speaker, and some of the questions from the audience, which I guess they weren't listening 100%, was how do you get an agent? The short answer is you don't. You should try to get a manager. Make sure you've got great examples. The number I heard was 2. Have at least 2 great, hopefully, better, cream of the crop scripts, not just 2 average scripts, but at least have 2, and then try to find a manager. The next question is always, well, how do I get a manager? I've been sending query letters and nobody's answering. Yeah, from the few people we talked to, very few of them actually take queries. And that's disappointing, because myself, that's how I've made contacts with people, generally through query letters. And I'm not gonna lie, my percentage has actually been pretty good as far as getting a response. I don't know if it's the way I'm typing my emails or the log lines or whatever is being included. But I generally do get a decent, I've heard, as low as 2% response or 10% response. My response has probably been more around 20-25%. But then that only gets you as far as the read, maybe. And then you send your script and then you never hear anything again in a lot of cases. So, want a manager, not an agent. You also want a manager who's right for you. Getting the biggest manager is not necessarily the right thing, or even a good thing. No manager is better than a bad manager. And I heard that multiple times from different people. So think about it. Just because someone approaches you, or you query somebody, or you get a contact and they say, oh yeah, we'd like to represent you, or I'd like to be your manager, still do your homework. Don't be a beggar and say, I can't, this is the first person, I've been doing this for years, and this is the first person that likes my work. Maybe they're the right person, but just do your homework. You basically want somebody that's hungry, probably on the same level as you in their industry, so that you guys can rise together and help each other. If you get somebody who's way experienced, unless it's amazing script, or got somebody's attention who really wants to work with you, you're going to be at the bottom of their client list being a new writer. You don't want to be at the bottom of a giant list. You want to be at the top. The phrase I heard was a big fish in a small pond. So you want to find a smaller agency, not agency, but a smaller management company, a smaller manager, somebody who's willing to take on new clients and work with you. That's willing to say, okay, I'm going to get my roster of young writers. and see how it goes. And they give them a year or two and see if they can develop into somebody I can manage and represent. And honestly, I think that's a good answer. I think that's what we want. It's a fantasy that you're going to write a script, especially your first script. You're going to send it to an agent. They're going to say, oh my God, I love it. And all of a sudden you're getting phone calls and lunches with everybody. That's not going to happen. It's not. You're going to go work your way up. And most of us have been working our way up. We just aren't capitalizing on some of those. So, and it boils down to having a great script. And how do you get a manager other than a query letter? The speakers there recommended winning or being a finalist in an amazing contest like Austin, like the Nickel, like some of the other fellowships. Easier said than done, right? Yeah, it sucks. And it goes back to you gotta have talent and you gotta write an amazing example. The other thing, and I think this is more realistic for most of us, personal, request. Hey, I met so-and-so. Can you read their script for me? You get that personal recommendation. Again, how do you get a personal recommendation if you don't know anybody? You got to know somebody. And it isn't like a nepotism thing. It's a small world and it's a small, business. But it's not just talking to managers. It's not just talking to agents or their assistants, which assistants can be very helpful. Readers, writers, the people I heard from, a lot of them got their clients from already existing clients. So a writer in a writer's group or talked or met with another writer and said, I got this script. Oh, wow, can I read it? Sure. The writer gives it to client reads it and says, this is great. I think my agent or my manager might like this. Recommends it to their manager and says, you got to read so-and-so. The script's one of the best ones I've seen, that I didn't write. So then the manager looks at it and says, yeah, okay, you've met this guy or girl, and then they're, they can write and they're personable. I'll give them a shot. And I think that's honestly the most realistic way most of us are going to find managers. Winning contests is extremely difficult with the competitions. There's just so many writers and it's so subjective. You just have to be undeniable. But I think meeting someone at your level or slightly above your level as far as a writer and a non-rep writer and then a writer with representation, they're more likely to recommend you to someone than just cold calling people. So I think in a way it's like a hard pill to swallow, but in a way it's good because now there's a little bit of a blueprint on how you can do it. And again, it comes back to being a decent person and being somebody that people want to work with. And sometimes being a writer, you're doing it by yourself and you kind of just want to, I'm done. I got some feedback. I think it's ready to go. And you want to mail it off or email it off and you just want to get a check in the mail or something. And unfortunately, that's not the way it works. They're going to want to know that you're a good person to work with. And that's going to come from you working with other people. So meeting other people and sharing scripts, giving feedback. And then you don't know. Somebody in your writers group gets a manager. A lot of people will genuinely help you. If they genuinely want to work with you, they will. So be that person that they want to work with. Reach out to people. Make a writing tribe is the term that I kept hearing. Okay, I went on a few more minutes on this topic, but I think this is a big topic that people care about is how do you get the manager. All right, number 6. This one's short and sweet. Keep writing. And I don't mean keep writing as in just keep going no matter what happens. I mean keep writing as in have a growing body of work. I've seen it and I've heard too many other people say they've seen it, where someone writes a story and the story might be great. It might be their personal story, something that they've, experienced and they want to share it with people. Their family or their grandfather has this amazing life and they just want to share it. And a lot of times, unfortunately, those stories actually aren't very interesting to other people, but just say it was. You're going to spend years of your life telling one story. And too many people do this. They'll write one or two, and they'll revise it for years. They will promote it for years. They'll query for years. They'll put it in the same contest year after year, banging their head against the wall. And because it's subjective, one year you might get a little higher, next year you might even not even place at all. And you're like, I got to get it there. Before you know it, 10 years have passed and you've written one or two scripts. That's not enough. It's not enough. Even if you had an agent, even if they read it and said, this is the most amazing script I've ever read, what else you got? You see nothing. This is the script. This is the movie that I wanted to make. And in a way, if that's what you want to do, is just tell that one story, then do it better than anybody else can do it, and good luck. But the reality is, to get a manager, to get an agent, to get working relationships with people, because they're looking for working writers that they can work with on projects coming up in the future too, not just what they're seeing in front of them in that minute. So they might say, I need somebody that's really good at humor. Like, I'm not going to produce your script, but I loved your sense of humor. I've got this other script that we're producing and the jokes aren't hidden. Like, would you mind taking a look at it and see if you can punch it up a little bit? And then all of a sudden now you're in on someone else's script, but because of your writing sample, but because you've written probably multiple things with that voice. That's really the goal, I think, is if you're trying to be a working writer, not just selling one or two things. So again, short but sweet, keep writing. If you want to be a working writer, keep writing, have examples of different genres, have examples of different stories, and if something's not working, put it aside, start something else. I guarantee you, you'll either fix the problem, it'll come to you, or that story might be not an interesting story enough to tell. And if you get stuck rewriting the same story that's not working, guess what else isn't working? You. Number 7. I think this one might be one of my favorite ones, honestly, because I've fallen into this kind of, disappointment that I don't always meet my writing goals. But I've heard this from some of the bigger names, including Shane Black. Thinking is writing. He said he hates writing. He hates it. So he thinks about it. 99% of his work. Actually, I'm not sure if it was Shane Black or Michael Arndt. He might have been Michael Arndt. I don't want to misquote somebody. But I'll say one of the top screenwriters that I saw said, I hate sitting down and writing. So I figure it out. I do 99% of the work in my head. And then I can sit down and type it out in maybe 3 days. Now, I don't expect myself to do that. I don't really expect you to do that. But do they sit down and do 5 pages a day? No. I do remember Shane Black, that said this. I don't sit down and do 5 pages a day. Because if you sit down and write 5 pages of garbage, you've got 5 pages of garbage. Now, you can have your opinions on that if you want, because I know a lot of people will write the vomit draft and then come back and fix it. And that is great, whatever your process is. I'm not a guy that sits down and does 5 pages a day. I wish I was. I don't have that kind of schedule and consistency. I prefer to have it figured out in my head. And then when I get to the page, I love typing. I love writing. That's my favorite thing. All the thinking about it is nice, but once you solve a problem or you see where you're going, I love sitting down and typing. A lot of times I'll do the whole 3rd act of my story in 1, maybe 2 sittings. And that's because once you can get to that point, you should have most of it figured out, at least in my opinion. At least this works for me. And then once I sit down, I know, okay, well, this is where the train's coming. This is where the zombies come out. This is where they got to do this or that. I can sit down and type the whole thing out. Is it going to be perfect? No, it's still going to need revisions. But all of it needs revisions, so that's not the issue. But Act 1, I can usually do that in a day or 2. Because, usually you get the beginnings or an end or something, something about your script before you start. But, yeah. Thinking is writing. And if you can figure it out away from the computer and then come back and be fully ready to just regurgitate it all into the page, I think that's the best. I think that's the best for writing, and I really feel a little bit relieved that there are professional screenwriters that actually recommended that, because you hear the do 5 pages a day, sit down and work for an hour, set aside a half an hour every day and do it. Now, those are great if you need the discipline, if you need the scheduling. I recommend it. That's how I got my novels done. I've wrote 3 self-published novels. And the only way I was able to finish that was to say, okay, these 2 hours, pretty much every day, I'm going to sit on the couch, watch my daughter, listen to music, and I'm going to type them out. Well, my daughter wasn't born, I don't think, for the first one, but for the last one, I know for a fact that's how I did it. And I would sit there and just type it out and get that time in, and I was able to complete, I don't know what it was, 85,000 words, something like that. Screenplay, I kind of do a similar thing, but I don't set aside time like that. I'm thinking constantly, and then once I get it resolved, bam, then I sit down, type it out, get a chunk done, and it feels good. So thinking is writing. All right, number 8, stick the landing, the ending. What makes it memorable is usually the ending, well, the characters, but the ending. Michael Arndt, the writer of Toy Story 3, Little Miss Sunshine, he shared something that I thought might have been the most interesting, like technical or craft tip of the entire thing that I witnessed. You want to make the end look binary, in that it's either a yes or no. Is Sherlock Holmes going to catch Moriarty? Is the person going to die out in the wilderness before they find help? Is the person, going to win the championship? Those are yes or no answers. But then you want the actual ending to be a surprise, inevitable ending, a third option. I hope that you understand what I'm saying, because I got it right away, but it's so hard to do. And that's to say, essentially, there's an internal and an external goal. I mean, we've all probably heard that by now. But the ending isn't going to be a yes or no. It might be a no, but it's still a happy ending. Or it could be a yes and a sad ending, and that's usually like a tragedy. The person gets their way, but they're not happy. It wasn't what they needed. But in this way, it was like, I'm not gonna lie, not 100% familiar with Toy Story 3. I honestly don't even know if I've watched it yet. But that was the example, I guess, at the end, and spoiler alert, if anybody hasn't seen it and still wants to. But as an example, I guess Woody wants to go to college with the boy, but he also doesn't want to leave his friends, who I guess are going up into the attic or something like that. So I guess there's this binary choice of, is he going to go? We know the ending is going to probably be one of 2 things. He's either going to go to college with Andy, that's his name, right? Or he's going to end up in the attic with his friends, but without Andy. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the story. I'm gathering this from, context clues I got at the conference. But apparently, spoiler alert, neither of those things happen. Andy does go to college without Woody, but they get donated to another child. So now he's still with his friends, and he still has somebody to play with, or to play with him. So he still has that utility in himself, but he's also still with his friends. And I think it also plays on the theme of, it's sad that he's not going to be with Andy, that times change. But it doesn't mean, it's going to be horrible. Like, times can change, and you can still pretty much be happy, be with, I wish I could speak more on it specifically, but eventually you want to stick the ending. You want it to be inevitable. Like, when you look back on it, you say, yeah, that makes sense. Whether it means setting it up through clues or dialogue or action throughout the story. You don't want it to be just like, bam, oh, by the way, you're donated now. No, but you want it to mean something. And usually those seem to be the most memorable and fulfilling, satisfying endings, is when they, set it up. You're either going to win or you're going to lose. And the fact is, you can do both and still be satisfying. If you can manage that, and I think sometimes movies do that you can still have a negative or a positive ending. I think a lot of tragedies are like that. It sets it up where you're going to do this or you're going to do that. And it's usually somewhere in the middle, but it's not happy, but it's satisfying. And vice versa, stories like Little Miss Sunshine and Toy Story 3, it's essentially a happy ending. Everybody doesn't get everything they want, but it's set up in a way that everyone can't get everything they want. So you want it to be inevitable, but a surprise. And number 9, this might be the easiest one and yet the hardest one for some people. Don't be a jerk. Don't be a jerk. Be somebody that people want to work with. I mean, that's it. I mean, talk to people, be nice, be respectful, take notes, when people give them to you. It doesn't mean you got to act on every note. Sometimes people give you a note and where they're coming from is a place of, I want to help you, something's not working for me. Now, the way they may tell you to go about fixing it could be wrong. I mean, you could just get a note, like I've heard some people say, you need a sex scene, you need a woman, you need what's the one, can they be cowboys? Like, I think I got that one from Bill Martell. And a lot of times, no, they can't be cowboys. And no, there can't be a sex scene in this one. No, like sometimes that can't be. I was talking to somebody about my project, Isle of the Dead, and it's a zombie comedy horror at a wedding. And not the first person I talked to, but the first note somebody said after I told them about it, they said, "Oh, that's great. Why can't they be lesbians?" I mean, they could be. If a producer was going to pay me to write that movie with 2 women getting married, yeah, because it doesn't change what I wrote, really. What I wrote, it's about love and family against obstacles and 2 different sides of the family, coming together. And this doesn't really go with the don't be a jerk thing too much, but you can make the note. It doesn't always have to be the exact thing that they've suggested. And in this case, maybe, I don't know, if somebody was willing, to pay me to make that change, sure. Because it doesn't change what I was trying to tell in the story. Now, could they be cowboys? I don't know, maybe. But ultimately it boils down to just don't be a jerk. Be somebody that people want to work with. That's it. Yeah. All right. This one is about characters. I was going to call it comedy comes from character, which is something I learned. I don't consider myself a comedy writer at all, but lately I've been finding myself more geared towards, interjecting the humor intentionally rather than unintentionally. And it comes from characters. Create great characters. But that goes in hand to what I think I really want to say with this note, which is write characters that actors will want to play. Make them interesting. Make them fun to live in their shoes for a little while. So you may not always be able to get, a Brad Pitt or a Ryan Gosling that wants to play in your movie. But whoever it is, they're still an actor and they take themselves seriously, and this is a profession. And if they have the choice between a bunch of scripts, and a lot of actors have a choice of tons of scripts, but if they see a character that's like, wow, that guy's such a dork, or that guy's he's so cool, or he's so flawed, like he's got these great quips that he said, like that's a person that maybe they've never played before. And they're like, you know what? I want to be that guy for 2 months while I film this movie or however long. Get the actor's attention with that note. And managers and agents are looking at that too. They're saying, this is a great story. Who am I going to get to play in this movie? These characters are just copy and paste. I mean, we can get somebody to do it, for money, but why choose that when they can choose something so much more interesting? Create deep characters. We always hear the flaw or the internal wound or something like that, and there's a lot of truth to that, but just make them interesting. Imagine if you had never seen Pulp Fiction, like it hadn't existed yet, and then you're an actor and you get the Christopher Walken monologue and you're just like, I'm in it for one scene, but I want to give that monologue. Like, that is memorable. That's going to help me get work, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to give that monologue. What about if somebody had given you the Jules character? Oh, we want you to play this part as this hitman. And you're like, what is up with the Bible scripture stuff that he keeps saying? But then he murders somebody. Like, what is up with the wallet? And what is he talking to this other hitman about? Like, this is such a wild character with his dialogue and his view of the world. Make a character that has a good view of the world. I mean, this is in Jules' case, he's a hitman. He's come to terms with that, but he wants to find like a purpose in life, and that's when the divine intervention happens, and he believes that was for a purpose. And you can see the difference between him and John Travolta's character. John Travolta's just like, yeah, we got lucky, but he doesn't get lucky later on. And honestly, later on, he kind of gets karma, because I don't think Bruce Willis was going to shoot him. Spoiler alert. But then the toaster went off. So it's like 1 minute they lived because of pure chance, and then the next minute he dies because of pure chance, maybe? Again, that's a side note from the topic, but still, character, right? Somebody interesting. If they didn't have all that interesting dialogue and all that, and you see, oh, he's a hitman. Yeah, maybe the movie still gets made because it's Quentin Tarantino and the other writing is still good, maybe, but who's going to play that part? Is it going to be Samuel L. Jackson? Maybe. Will it be memorable? Probably not. But again, it all goes hand in hand. Great story, great characters, great humor. And I used to be a plot person, a concept person. You come up with that idea and then you populate it with people. I'm starting to change my tune a little bit. Yeah, I might have a concept. But character, man, when you can really dive into the character, it makes everything easy. It makes the dialogue easy. It makes the humor easy. I mean, I've had characters having conversations or making jokes. I didn't even think about them. Like, I just typed them. And when you can get into that spot where the character is doing the typing, oh, that's when you know you got gold. I mean, you might have to still come back and do a revision and take some out, because a lot of times, at least my characters, they tend to overspeak. Kind of like me. That's why these videos get longer. But you can always fix that later. But you want to let them speak. But for them to have the ability to speak, they have to have personality. They have to have something to them, a worldview. And it just comes back to character. That's where it all boils down from, I think. And that's my 10th tip. All right. Now, lastly, I'm going to throw in an extra one, because this might not be for everybody. I'm not even sure if it's for me, but I heard it. I've talked to people that it worked, and a lot of the people that were at the conference, when I heard them speak about it, it did make me feel like I'm missing out a little bit, because they had something I didn't, and that was produce your own stuff, especially proof of concepts, short films. I mean, I've got some short films and stuff that me and my friends have done. Some of them I'm pretty proud of, some of them not so much, but we made a lot of them for fun, and that's okay. But some of these people, they've made amazing proof of concepts, they've made amazing short films, and we were kind of warned not to make the short films too long. Like, managers, agents generally aren't going to sit there and watch your 45-minute short. Do like a 3-minute. Do a 3-minute proof of concept. Show that you understand the business, that you understand that you're making a movie that's meant to be seen. And nowadays, I mean, I'm making this on my iPhone. You can probably tell it's an old iPhone. We almost all have the capability to make something right now. I'm just sitting at home, man. I'm just sitting at home doing this. Is this going to get me an agent or a manager? No. But I can make it. You couldn't do that. That was like 15 years ago. Maybe a little longer now. I'm getting old. But we've all got the capability in our pockets to make a movie. Professional movies that are shown in theaters, some of them are made with iPhones, and they're all edited on Mac. Like, make something. And even if it turns out to be garbage, you'll learn something. A lot of my stuff's garbage. A lot of my stuff's even unfinished. But you learn something, and you can apply that. You can apply that knowledge to your next project or your next writing. and be like, well, I know how they could produce this, so I can write it in a way that they'll understand. And I really think any experience is invaluable right now. I mean, we're all in a team trying for the same goal, but the truth of the matter is that we're all not going to get there. And we want to make the journey as easy and pleasant as possible for each other. But it is we are competing with each other in a way that you got to stand out. Not so much be better than, but you do have to be. You have to be amazing to get through it nowadays. But you just have to stand out. And if there's a choice between me and the woman next to me, and we've got the same quality script, same type of script, but she's got a proof of concept, or she's got an amazing, a trailer edited, I wouldn't recommend using AI. I don't recommend using AI pretty much for anything. But there are ways with, modern technology to piece something together. I've even seen a video where there's a business. A guy started a business making trailers for movies that don't exist, and they're freaking amazing. And it's not meant to be shown around to everybody in the world, because it is using existing video in some cases that he doesn't own the rights to. But you can give it as a pitch. Give it as this is what I imagine my movie looking like, and then they can visualize anything. And this goes back to the don't break the rules. And yes, break the rules. Anything that gets the vision in your head into their head is a plus. But you just got to make sure that vision in your head is a good vision. All right, so that's my list of things that I gathered from the Austin Film Festival 2025. I know a lot of it we've heard before. Maybe some of it you're hearing for the first time. But I hope that helps you. I know some of it has helped me. I'm looking forward to applying some of the lessons I learned to some of the scripts and projects that I'm working on. And I am thinking about making a short film now, one that I probably, it's in my head, thought about doing it, it's doable. I think this might have pushed me over the edge. I think I might actually just go through with it. And I hope that some of this action is something that you guys can take and apply to your writer's journeys.